big rivalry game for some portions of it. For other portions, apparently, we don't care about it, right? But it's Cowboys-Eagles Sunday night on Sunday Night Football. And as it comes up, these are two teams that people view pretty highly. And how they clash is going to be interesting. And matchups are going to be important in this. So let's get into some of the matchups to watch for this Cowboys-Eagles game. Are there any ones that immediately jumped out to you here, Bob?
I think if you're looking for somewhere to take advantage of, if you're looking at the Cowboys and go like, all right, they need to have success by targeting this player. The guy you need to look at is a guy that there's a lot of hand wringing over not too long ago. Remember how devastated everybody was acting when it was like, oh, and now the Eagles get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson too?
Yes.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Traded from the Saints, correct?
Has been
Did you just knock
bad.
something over?
No, my laptop case fell over.
Okay, I'm glad it's not your laptop.
No, that's right in front of me.
Okay.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I mean, we can just say it flat out. He's been cheeks, all right? And
No cheeks.
Yeah, and he's been terrible in run support. He has been an awful, unreliable tackler. He's been bad in coverage. He's given up a couple touchdowns this season, and this is a team that has not given up very many touchdowns through the air. They've given up 6 this year. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has been responsible for 3 of them, and he's got like 8 missed tackles. He's just been brutal. That's why when that trade happened, I was like, guys, this is not Minkah Fitzpatrick. This isn't the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade.
Which thankfully it's not, because wouldn't bode well.
They're asked to do similar things,
Sure.
But man, to me, it was like, I don't think he's the guy that you think you're getting. And I know for a fact, just from leading up to the redraft process, people I've talked to around the league about that guy is it's a little bit of a risky proposition bringing that guy in your locker room. So when we talk about culture, that guy can make things tough at times.
So this is the interesting thing for me. As a guy in the secondary, as a guy you want to take advantage of, one of the things that we've talked about a good amount is like Cooper Rush and this offense under his control, their ability to actually do things offensively that aren't just mediocre. And I feel like you would have to play pretty well in order to attack Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. No?
I mean, if you get him lined up in the slot, which he's occasionally been asked to cover guys in the slot, it's not been his primary responsibility. He's been playing some center field. He's been playing up in the box. But if he's playing in the slot, which does happen on occasion, I think you target him immediately. You put stuff in the middle of the field. You find, all right, Cooper Rush's big strength this year has been throwing between the numbers. When he's put things in between the numbers, he's been really good there. It's when you start throwing outside towards the sideline and stuff that he's had some issues with his accuracy and getting the ball there on time. So I think if you've got him in the slot, if you've got CeeDee in the slot and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson happens to be up on him, I think you need to have a check play ready for all right, CeeDee slant. Right inside, we're going to hit CeeDee quick, and then we're going to trust that CeeDee's going to be able to pull away from him. He's going to be able to have the separation, and he's going to be able to pull away down the field and, make a guy miss and pick up some yardage. That's an area where I think they could take advantage of, because he's a weak link for them, I think, right now in the secondary, because their corners are playing top-notch. All of them. James Bradbury, Avonte Maddox, Darius Slay, they're all playing really, really well right now. And I would have concerns about Dallas being able to get separation against them just in one-on-one matchups. I think you're going to have to scheme some stuff up for them. That's why the biggest key to me this week, Kellen Moore's got to have a great game.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore has to be on top of things and call a really great game for them.
How have you felt about that Eagles defensive line? Because one of the things with this offense and the ways that they've been able, like last week, they were able to run the ball well, and that was what helped them out a good amount. Do we anticipate running the ball being something that they're able to do well?
I mean, the Eagles have, when you talk about efficiency, they've given up some chunk plays.
Okay.
Detroit was able to run the ball pretty effectively on them. Last week, I think the Cardinals were able to run the ball on them pretty well. It's funny, too, that when you look at the breakdown, so when teams run to the right side of their offensive line, so that's the left side of the Eagles defense.
Okay.
When teams run right, they've attempted 32 carries this year to the right side. It's 3.3 yards per carry. Incredibly inefficient. It's just not working out for them. When teams run to the left side of their offensive line, that's Philadelphia's right. And they've done it 37 times this year. That's 5 more than running the right side. It's a fair enough sample size for us to say, can you effectively do it? 6.5 yards per carry. It's double on the left side. And so that right side of the Eagles defense has been giving up gash plays. And it's not just to the perimeter. How we talked about Dallas, it feels like the perimeters have been soft for them on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
It's teams are picking up, 6 yards around the end. They're picking up 6 yards, behind tackle. They're picking up 5.5 behind the guard. You're really able to get some movement on the right side of that defensive that defensive front for Philadelphia. So if you're looking for an area to take advantage of with Pollard and Zeke and those guys, you may be looking at like, all right, let's really run behind the power of Tyler Smith. Can we get, Jason Peters? Is he healthy enough for us to get some reps and play with his power inside? Can we get movement over there and really stress this defense? Can we potentially, is this the week we start actually trying to work in Kevontae Turpin? Can we give Turpin on a jet sweep?
Yeah.
Or like a quick shuttle pass or whatever and just like, run it off to that side. They've shown susceptibility on that side of the defense.
Okay. So yeah, that's exactly where I was going. You took it and you ran with it before I even was able to guide you.
Just like
so
teams do to the Eagles on the left side.
Thank you. Fantastic. Yeah. What other matchups are we looking out for? Because one that comes to mind, and we kind of alluded to this a little bit, Dallas Goedert is an athlete, and he's a tight end that can be a mismatch maker. And when we talk about quarterbacks, especially ones that are like in a proving ground point, throwing to their tight end matters.
Yeah, it's a safety blanket.
Absolutely. So I imagine that Goedert situation and trying to make sure that you have him covered up and limit his productivity is going to matter. Is that going to be Jaron Kearse's duty today or on Sunday?
I don't know, because see, that's we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier about the idea of how do you spy Jalen Hurts. If you choose to spy Jalen Hurts, they may not want to, but if they're gonna do that, I feel like that there have been times, as well as he's played, I feel like there have been times where like Donovan Wilson has not been totally reliable tackling. Like there have been issues of him
overrunning the
over
play.
Pursuit or coming in just like almost like with his hair on fire. And I specifically remember where he should have made a tackle for like a 3-yard loss, and Joe Mixon just kind of like jumped over him lightly because he just came in there, kind of reckless and out of control. And Joe Mixon, like disciplined and measured, was able to get by him. And that's happened a couple times. That does not happen to Jaron Kearse very much. There was, I don't know where he finished the season, but I know about 12 weeks through the year last year, there was nobody with a better missed tackle percentage in the NFL on like minimum 20 tackle attempts, which was like 100, like I think 200 qualifying players. There was nobody better in the NFL at it than Jaron Kearse. So he is the most reliable tackler. He's shown really good instincts when he plays near the line of scrimmage. He's very disciplined. So it's a tough question because he's your tight end guy too. He prides himself on like, he feels like if there's a tight end that can be a threat, he wants that matchup. So it's like, what do you value more? Do you value, let's try and put a focus on stopping Dallas Goedert and taking that away from Jalen Hurts? Or do you focus more on, all right, we feel like we can handle Goedert with, scheme changes, or maybe just assigning that to Wilson or Hooker or somebody like that. And making sure Kearse spies and doesn't let Jalen Hurts beat us with his legs. So which do you value more? Jalen Hurts and his running ability and how that can stress your defense, or how Dallas Goedert can be a reliable chain mover?
And I imagine most people under the sound of our voices are skeptical of Jalen Hurts when you make him a passer, right? So I imagine the idea of taking away
he's improved.
that running.
He's still not great.
Sure, and that's why I'm saying like people are skeptical. I think that this will be another data point in seeing whether that is the case or not. And I think that the defense might have to make a concerted effort to make this a data point. And I say that to say, take away or at least try and minimize his threat of running the football, force him to throw the football. And of course, Dallas Goedert factors into that. But I guess we have to talk about the two other guys that matter in this, the pretty good weapons. And I think that's an understatement, of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. How does this Dallas defense try and take it, or I keep wanting to use the word attack, but it doesn't feel right. How do they try and cover up those two guys?
I think there's a little bit of a Cooper Kupp factor with A.J. Brown, where I don't think he's up to that level, but it is a little bit like he's gonna get his. And so like you just need to kind of be resigned to the fact that he's probably going to get you a couple times, and you can't let that demoralize your defense.
Sure.
You can't count on we're just going to completely take A.J. Brown out of the game. Devontae Smith is a guy who has played really well so far this year. I think the thing a lot of people view Devontae Smith as when he was coming out is, man, what a great vertical threat that guy could be. That's not been the Eagles' game. Like even, with his, 28 receptions this year, he's averaging 12.5 yards per catch. Like, he's not been stretching the field very much. In fact, the Eagles are one of the teams who take the fewest shots down the field in the NFL. And so I think that shows you that they like to kind of nickel and dime you. They like to, do those RPOs where it's like, all right, are we going to hand it off? All right, pull the ball back and let's hit A.J. Brown on a slant. Like over here, all right, let's hit, Devontae Smith coming on, an out route or whatever else. Or let's hit these crossing routes with an RPO. That's the way they've generally approached things, is just a lot of play action, a lot of quick passes, a lot of stressing the defense and keeping the defense honest with what Jalen Hurts can do as a threat to run, and then taking advantage of some of the soft looks in the intermediate areas. But they're not going to push the ball down the field. I don't think this is a week of big chunk plays that Dallas will have to worry about that. And as talented as this team is, the Eagles, and as talented as their offense is, I still look at it and I go, I don't look at that as a group of players. I don't look at that personnel and think there's no way that Dallas can stop that. Like, I feel like Dallas matches up pretty well against their offense.
Okay, so I know that you said that, but from the 940, someone said Philly's run game worries me more than the pass game. I think they'll run for 150 to 200 yards. What say you on
Philly's
that?
run game definitely concerns me more than the pass game does. Okay. Because I think not just Jalen Hurts, I think Miles Sanders is really good. And they finally, like, Nick Sirianni and that coaching staff has finally wised up and is using him.
Yes.
Remember the first game last year? He got 2 carries against Dallas. People were like, why is Miles Sanders not touching the ball?
Right.
And they had some issues getting him touches. They're consistently using him now. And he's making teams pay for it. He's, damn near 5 yards per carry. The interesting thing is that as much as they've shown an ability to run the ball and as good as they are at it, they are not always like completely efficient. They've got plenty of runs that go for, -1, no gain, a yard. I looked this up a couple weeks ago with, I think it was Washington. No, it was with the Rams last week. And I was just looking up like percentage of runs that go for 2 yards or fewer. And the Eagles were like bottom 5 in the league for carry. And it's because just the high volume, but man, they'll break them eventually and they're committed to it. But it can be like kind of a slow drip and then the dam breaks a little bit, because they'll run their head into a wall several times. In fact, if you look at it, they're 17th in the NFL in yards per attempt at 4.3. And so while they're really committed to doing it, they lead the NFL in rushing attempts and rushing touchdowns. It's not always efficient.